ewberg Dundee School District Board of Directors meeting order. And we will start the flag salute there.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I can also say that it's very exciting that we're having our meeting at Dundee Valley Middle School. So for all the folks that are in the room here with us. Under the review agenda, I would like to make a motion that we add director, board, and superintendent comments at the end of the meeting, just after the board action items. I think we have a lot going on that directors might want to have comments about, and just give Dave an opportunity to give us some updates.
Second.
Okay, any further questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Let's go.
Where the agenda did you want to?
I was just gonna put it under the board action items.
Okay, between 7 and 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So under, let's move to the consent agenda. It is really important that we point out that Lonnie and Scott Parrish donated $16,031 to the Newburgh Dundee Public Schools for some printing material. And the Ancient, Free and Accepted Masons of Oregon donated $500 to Edwards Elementary School. I don't know if that's for anybody, do you know?
I do not know, but thank you.
Yeah, what a contribution by the parishes. It's very much appreciated during our lean time. And then there are, so we've got a couple of resignations. George Vincent from the high school and Cynthia Stevenson from Ewing Young. Retirements, and then congratulations to them on their retirements, and then resignation of Lisa Dutz. Sorry, felt like I was gonna mispronounce that name. And then we have the board minutes. So if anybody wants to make a motion regarding that.
Move that the Newburgh Dundee Public Schools Board of Directors approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any further questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
About our kids, one hungry.
Under the public, yeah, I think I forgot that we would have public forum at this meeting, but, is there anybody that wanted to give comments? Okay. But this is the time that we can talk about the t-shirts that we are all wearing from, Juliet's House did a t-shirt contest, and a student at Edwards Elementary School, and her name is Arlette. And she is a very busy young lady because she has soccer practice every board meeting. So she's gonna come with her family at a board meeting when soccer is finished sometime in May. So these are just to promote that April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. And she did a great job with her design. So we'll just recognize that and appreciate that her very cute drawing, so. Okay. So, Andy, want to talk about what's going on with your school?
Sure, yeah. We show the slide deck up here. Great, so again, welcome to Chehalis Valley. It's hard to believe this building's 30 years old. It's well taken care of and just, well, please take care of it, and our custodians do a great work. In fact, one of our staff spotlights today you have is around our custodian, Chris Cornell. An amazing individual, runs marathons, does Ironmans, and just works his tail off for our kids, and our kids see it. And we have kids who want to be a custodian aides to help him out because he's just so impactful in a building. So welcome to 30th anniversary of Chehalis Valley. Talking about our oops. Oh, sorry. Gotta turn it on. Oh wow, it'll count. I'll try. All right, so a couple of things to highlight we're doing this year is, so BAR, Building Assets, Reducing Risks. We are in our first full year implementation here at the middle schools. The high school is done for 5 years, and they came down, we brought it down, actually, to be honest with you, it was January of 2025. We had our 8th grade teams, kind of pilot it, for the last part of the year. And then this first full year of BAR was for our 6th and 7th grade, teachers and so on. It's a way for us to identify student strengths and talk with about all of our students, not just ones who might need the most help or some of our tag kids who need them, that need, you know, acceleration. Oftentimes kids in middle school are in the middle, are kind of left out. And it's an opportunity for us to address every kid and work on a goal, to make them the best they can possibly be. So we've divided up our school into grade level cohorts, and they're talking about kids twice a month on small block and for an hour a month on big block. And the picture up here is actually Tobias Reed. He's our Secretary of State, and he came and talked. And our the kids there are kids going to Wadayama, and they actually toured the school with our officials and kind of showed them our building, and he had to learn about what we're doing here at BAR and our district. It was a great experience for us to showcase some of our kids and some of our talents our kids have. He's very impressed with the banners overhead all the colleges and universities. That was pretty neat. So we did that piece. We just got back from a BAR conference, and we want to thank the BAR Center for scholarshiping Newburgh schools to go down there and share our story. So I got a chance, the opportunity to present in a panel to people from Maine and Minnesota and all over the United States, and take away some good information that we can implement into our buildings for Mountain View, the high school, and us as well. So it was a wonderful conference. It's a shame it's in Palm Springs, but it was, you know, but it was a great conference, and we had a lot of learning that happened, and a lot of camaraderie between our principals and our coordinators in our buildings, understanding and talking, you know, at dinner about what we're doing and how we're doing things in our buildings and so on. And then last but not least, our teacher investment. Teachers have bought into this. Oftentimes in our school district, and many districts, there's a lot of initiatives that get put in place, and teachers sometimes will wait it out and just see if it goes away. And our staff has jumped in to saw the value of this program, and they're working every time hard for the 30 minutes or for the hour, making sure kids are being kids are getting what they need, and having some really good conversations about not only kids, but about teaching and learning in the classroom. What works well for this kid in teaching and learning, and different ways of classroom management strategies. So it's more than just kids, it's going beyond that. And we're learning more about each other and some of our strategies in the grade level. Oftentimes you see departments talk among themselves, but now it's straight out across grade levels. And so it's a really wonderful to watch teachers either aha moment from other person they don't really know or attention style. So it's been a great for our staff to grow together as well. And this is a picture from our mud run. It's Xavier and Maddox and having a great time there. But kind of focus in on our state scores from last year. We're starting our testing window as of last week. We started our 8th grade science test, and we just finished that up. We have about 15 kids left to wrap up. But I want to kind of show kind of what we're doing here, and I'm really proud of these numbers. We can be better, but I'm proud of where we're going trajectory-wise. So Holly and I took all these scores from all the middle schools, 6 through 8, and we kind of narrowed them down to just 6 through 8 middle schools, because there's a K-6, there's charter schools, there's 6-12s, and so we just looked at just the 6-8 middle schools that we have across the state of Oregon. And so these are kind of some of the scores that we're kind of seeing across the board here. So so for science, that's our dress up day for Halloween. The Oregon State science test had 20% pass rate on average for our schools across the state of Oregon. We're at 30%. We had the 8th best score in the state. Last year we were 9th. This year we're 8th, and our kids really bought in this year and took it seriously, and they want to up one, and so they're really working hard on those pieces. So it's pretty exciting to see those pieces come to fruition. And again, it's not the best numbers. We want it to be better, but we're pretty proud of where we are in the state of Oregon in those numbers. For ELA, The Oregon, average is at 43%, and we're at 50, and that was in the 74th percentile of all like middle schools in the state of Oregon. So we're happy with that number. We have some work to do in our writing, and that's gonna be something we focus on this year, is working on some of our writing skills too. That's what's bringing us our scores down. The vocabulary, we're through the roof, we're doing great work. We do a lot of PD on vocabulary, but we working on some of our writing comprehension pieces. And then for math, the average is 30%, and we're at 43 in the 84th percentile. Our eighth grade math last year actually scored the 90th percentile last year of all students. So we set this high school up pretty successful for this year. I'm getting some good numbers and so on. So we're very excited for that. That picture is our students checking their names out on the honor roll. So they're checking out, seeing if they can find their friends and seeing if they're on there and making sure they're getting pictures of them instead of with their friends. So economy and culture, we Roger brought this in from Dayton and opened it with full arms. Is we have three things that we do: do your best, do what's right, and treat others the way you want to be treated. Those things we ask all of our students and all of our staff to do. Oftentimes we'll talk about that in our Students of the Month. We have a breakfast for our parents who can come in the morning on Late Start Wednesday. And Roger loves doing this. He loves to host and talk about the do right, and comes with three tenets. Is it kind? Is it true? And is it useful? Whenever pieces happen. And it's great because our kids light up when they get these awards. It's like Christmas for them. They get it posted on the wall front, their friends. And when we announce it over the intercom, kids are clapping in the classrooms for each other. It's a pretty neat thing to see our kids rally around each other. And our teachers do nominate, but we do have time to have some kids nominate other kids. Like, hey, this kid helped me out. I think he deserves a Student of the Month. And we will honor that all times and share with the students and the teachers those pieces. So something we always try to do, those three tenets, to make sure we have some positive pieces. Our sixth graders have really bought into it this year. They are all in on this. They're a adorable group of students. They really bought in and really understand making the school the safest place, the best place possible. They're the first ones to come in and say, did you hear what happened? We need help with this. And they'll come in and try to get help. So I'm really excited about where those kids are going to go and what they're going to do over the next 6 years in our district. Some improvements we need to work on, like every middle school and every school in the state, we have things to work on. One thing is around our bullying and harassment education. Oftentimes we hear I'm being bullied, and we're trying to work on some of our messaging on that, because there's different ways of is it mean, is it rude, or is it bullying, right? And often people jump to that word because it's more powerful, and so we're trying to educate our students on the person is being mean, or the person just being rude, or is it truly an imbalance of power where we need to step in and really take a look at it. And so we're working on that with our students through our health curriculum. We're working on it in our conversations through restorative circles and so on. But something we need to work on some more and do more of, with not only with our students, but with our community at large as well. Our attendance can be better. I mean, we're doing okay, but I wish we had more students attending regularly. When they're here, we can move mountains. And so we've done home visits before. We've sent letters to families, but I think there's more that we can uncover and start thinking about when we start partnering with the high school and the middle school and the grade schools and what they're doing, and kind of seeing we can team together and impact our families, because it's not just one student here, it's a student at the high school, a student here, maybe a student at the grade school, right? And so how do we work as a group to get that entire family from the school? So combine resources together. And then of course, with families, one thing I always do with our students, our parents, on our back to school night or welcome to sixth grade. I do a middle school one-on-one, middle school 101, a tutorial for new parents to middle school. And I always tell them, you're gonna hear, if you don't ask the right questions, you're gonna hear, how was school? Fine. What'd you learn? Nothing. You're gonna hear that unless you really figure out how to ask those questions. What'd you do today? What one thing you learned in school today? Is there anything going on that you know about? Was there anything funny that happened? And all of a sudden the stories come out, and then parents are hearing what's happening. And then they can reiterate to us, something's going on with my kid, we need to come in, we take care of this. And so it's helping our parents, understand the power they have to help their students, with us as a partner and moving forward on this. So reach out to families and getting stuff out there so that we can work together more commonly, more often with, our families. And then, of course, we always want to increase our test scores. That's how we're measured, and we know we're on the right trajectory, it can always be better. I mean, if a student leaves without being proficient, that's a problem for us. And so we have to work with our K5s, we have to get ready for them, and then work with our 912 to make sure we're aligned in what we need to do. And then last but not least, I don't know how this is gonna work. Did I just press the button here?
You can click.
Okay, so what can I say? So, this is our librarian, this is Isabel. And Isabel, every fifth period works with a couple of kids and they help shelve books in here. Our students are learning alphabet and learning numbers, and a chance for them to actually do the system and learn how to shelve books. So it's a wonderful thing she's doing to help all of our students out moving forward. So, our vibe in our building is really fun. We get a chance, in the morning to go out and watch kids come in to this, off the bus and talk to their friends. And we get a chance to see kind of their faces and see who might need help, who might need support in those days, and kind of go from there. And then I come down at the Wolf's Head, and when the bell does ring, we get to see all the kids walking by and say hello to them and so on. Kids are smiling, kids are having a great time, kids help each other out. I had to show this video to his parent. Her kid dropped all of his belongings on the floor. It's like a movie everywhere. And there was no piece of paper left in his binder. It was all over the place. And just kids started walking by and helped pick up stuff. And there's so many kids helping. Some kids wanted to help and they couldn't because there was no room for them to get in there. And so those things kind of melt your heart, that they're looking out for one another and they're taking care of each other. And it's not just they walk off the class. They don't say that, they don't expect anything. It's just they do it. And that's kind of the culture we want to instill there and keep doing. So I interviewed 3 students, and this 8th grader, a 7th grader, and a 6th grader. And I asked them what's the best thing about CV? You should come back every day. And then also, the question is, if you could be a principal and change one thing, what would it be? And so these are just from the Mouse of Babes. So let's do with Maria first. Oh, okay. 1 second here. Shoot.
You do that and you share
Here.
the boardroom.
All right, there's your first one. Okay. Please tell us who you are and what grade you're in.
I am Maria.
You are?
I'm
What is the best thing on CV?
Things that I come to is the staff members and my friends.
One. Welcome. So please tell us who you are and what grade you're in.
I am Ryan. I'm an 8th grader that goes to Salem Valley Middle School.
Good. What is the best thing about CVMS that keeps you coming back?
The best thing for student camps that I come to is the staff members and my friends. Because some of the staff members that you see here, they may look scary or rude. Like Mr. Martin, he may look scary at first, but he's really nice and shy, and I like that about him. And so too, I like Miss Natalie. She's a second year here, and I recommend them a lot. I recommend every single teacher, because they're really nice. Like, you may think, oh, they're a teacher here, they can be rude, but really they're all nice teachers. in general.
Okay, guess we're good teachers here. If you were principal and could change one thing about the school, what would it be?
It would be sometimes how it's run, like on how when people get in trouble, sometimes they deserve more consequences of their actions and they should look more into it. And I think justice, like I feel like equality and how we're treated, everyone should be treated the same.
As well, thank you, good job.
Yeah.
So that's Maria, heading up to the high school, today we had our 8th grade assembly, we had the ASB kids come down from the high school and, put on assembly for our 8th graders and, you know, they're all talk until they get in front of the ASB and they get clammed up and they were quiet, weren't volunteering, it was kind of fun to see them change a little bit, and I'm looking forward to seeing them, go out there together, shell the 8th grade year. Gavin is our 7th grader, I asked the same questions to him. I love about all 3 of these is they're just different. I just picked 3 kids and said, what do you got? And I asked them last night, which one to do this? And they're like, yes. And it's like, here's a question you're gonna ask. I'm just gonna go and I'm not gonna prep you, just go. And this is what, you know, our kids did wonderful. So here's Gavin. Okay. Welcome. Please tell us who you are and what grade you're in.
Hi, I'm Gavin Porter and I'm from 7th grade.
Okay. So Gavin, what is the best thing about CVMS that keeps you coming back?
Best thing about CBMS, in my opinion, is the elective classes that I get to choose.
Tell me more.
Like, I like some of the different classes, like engineering or wood shop, or even being an aide in some classes is really good.
What's your best all-time class here at CV?
My favorite class would be probably engineering.
Okay. If you were principal and could change one thing, what would it be?
I would change, if I was the principal, I would change the class periods to be 1 hour long, to go back to 6 periods. Because it's really easy to remember what time it ends and starts.
Okay, anything else?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. And then the last one here is Addie.
Hold on, before we go on that one,
Yeah.
can you share what engineering class looks like here?
So engineering, so yes, so when I got here 4 years ago, I redid a lot of the classes that I felt like they were just kind of filler and they didn't seem to have a lot of purpose. So coming down from the high school and kind of being a CTA administrator up there, I extended the pathways down to the middle level because I felt that we're missing an opportunity for our kids to explore before they got to the high school. So I brought in horticulture, engineering, a bunch of different things, wood shop, and just so we could have an opportunity for kids to explore. When they get to high school, they would know more about what route they wanted to go. So engineering here, it's great because they learn how to build their own kite, they fly their own kite. They do mousetrap cars where you've seen before, you have these CDs that are no longer relevant anymore. You can bring 1,000 in and get people they want, and they have a mousetrap and the motion propels it. It's really kind of a wonderful thing. So a lot of different ideas of how to do things with different science concepts. So kids, a lot of hands-on experience. Brittany Olson does teach that, and she's already a really hands-on teacher as it is. So kids love that class because it's just, there's no homework, but it's just in their face and they get experience it in a different way.
Awesome.
Engineering sounds kind of scary at times. And when they leave that class, they're like, I can be an engineer. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
So this is relevant because of some of the proposed cuts. How will that impact CT at the middle school?
It will impact us. We're going to be losing a couple of art programs, pieces for our artists, but also losing our innovation lab, which is coding, it's writing, Python, it's creating robotics and working those pieces. It will impact engineering because we have to chance that class and put something in place of it. So a different opportunity. So we'll be losing a lot of our engineering in general, those hands-on classes for students, unfortunately. And then Addie is our last one. Addie, is a sixth grader. She was nervous about this, and you can probably guess that being a sixth grader being interviewed by the principal for, in my office, first time in my office ever. So she's looking around like, whoa, you know, so this is Addie, same questions. Hello, welcome, and please tell us who you are and what grade you're in.
I'm Addie Proctor and I'm in sixth grade.
Okay. So what is the best thing about Cheyenne Valley that keeps you coming back?
Probably definitely the teachers and the staff because they make it so it's a safe and loving and caring environment.
Do you have a favorite teacher?
Probably, actually, no, I just love all my teachers.
You do? Okay, okay. If you were principal and could change one thing, what would it be?
Probably the lunches because me and my friends think it's like just repeated after one day after another. And that's probably because of the chicken.
The chicken, a lot of chicken, you know. Okay. Well, thank you, Addie. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you have a life of chicken lunch and dinners ahead of you.
So with that, are there any questions about Cheyenne Valley I can answer?
Andy, I love that. That was, did you do that for this meeting or was this for something else?
Just for this meeting. Yeah.
That was very cool.
I did a couple of years ago, probably 3 years ago, and I find it's important to hear from our kids, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're here.
Definitely, yeah.
Did you hear anything that surprised you from this?
No, I didn't. So, Maria's was straightforward and she told us what she thought, and I love that about her. And she's not wrong. And kids don't know what happens behind closed doors when it comes to some of our student discipline cases. And oftentimes, she wants justice, and people want justice for what they're doing wrong. And I love that about them because it's not right. It should be fixed. And I love that. But nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, school lunches, you know, changing our schedule. You know, and I want to learn. I want kids to, you know, honor my learning time and not have to worry about them.
Do you have a very active parent group?
It's very active. And if anyone's listening out there, most of our parents are aging out and going to the high school. So if anyone wanted to join the CMP parent group, they're incredible. And a lot of stuff that happens here is because of them. They just pour their heart and soul into this building, and we can't do what we do without them. So I'm hoping parents will step up and continue. It's always been historically really strong, and really proud of working with them. And they're all for the kids and trying to make our school a better place.
And you mentioned that writing is a goal. What are you doing in your ELA programs?
Yeah, so we're doing a lot of different work through the district. Holly's helped guiding us through some different assessments to prepare for the state test. A lot to do with writing and how we are either getting a chance to score and see what they're doing on the assessments to help them better articulate what they can do differently on the state tests. It's also practicing, you know, when you're writing on a Chromebook or you're writing on paper, it's different than the test. And so how do you do it differently for the test? How's your mind look different when you're starting to write on a tablet or something like that? But it's a lot of, we took down, so a couple of years ago, we brought down from the high school, they do CERs at the high school, and we're doing those down here to get kids ready for that. So when they go to high school, they know what a CER, and it's, oh, help me, Holly, CER. Claim evidence and reasoning, thank you. And so we were doing those quite a bit through our English classes, social studies classes.
Thanks for sharing the data profile and especially the videos. Thinking about the data, if you showed like 50% for ELA, is that for all students?
That's for all students.
Across all grades?
Yes, across all grades, so the average.
Are there particular student groups that you're sort of eyeing specifically around improvement for?
Yeah. So yes. So one thing we are looking at is of course, our students on special programs, IEPs and 504s. One thing we're looking at doing differently in that, the next couple of, we're actually launching this year, with the help of the high school. But the math program, for example, we're looking at a different way of aligning students so they get a different approach to math. So we'll be doing some co-teaching, in some of our classes. The special education teachers will come into our classroom with our teachers and maybe have some classrooms where it's geared more for a different type of learner to understand all the standards, but in order to engage them differently than maybe a general class or an advanced class. That's one. And then we're floating an idea around with that also with our 8th grade science as well, a little bit. But in our reading, in our English and our social studies classes, we're really looking at how do we engage learners through our UDL and how do we, because that's a natural way for kids to accelerate or to get some interventions in those opportunities. So teachers have been really working on the new curriculum on how that could look differently in our classrooms. So we're having teachers working to present PE. We have some really solid teachers who understand from different districts universal design learning, and they're master teachers, and so their opportunity is coming forward during our PD time on Wednesdays and really having teachers understand whether or not they're brand new to it or if they're more advanced. We're trying to scaffold some of that training as well so that everyone gets something out of it, not just, you know, it's one size fits all, because everyone's in a different spot when it comes to that. Not learning. That's your question. Sure.
Any other questions?
Well, I would just highlight one other thing for Andy, and as you walk out to go to the executive session, they've done a lot of work around climate and culture here, and specifically the big calendar that's right near the Wolf's Head, that they put up with all of the leadership classes, put up all the things going on in the school. And then as I was walking in, I noticed a Rooted Together, Growing Strong, big display that, again, they're working really hard here to kind of connect kids to the space and make it positive. We've seen a lot of work at the high school. We've seen that work here at CV. We've got multiple elementary schools that are, and they're all using the same character development. Like each month, the whole district is working on the same thing. So I just, as you walk through the halls, just taking a look at kind of what you're seeing, and tells you a little story about kind of where the climate culture is going here.
Coming soon to our hallways, we have an amazing art teacher, Sue Lambert, incredible. Hands with kids on a different level, and she is working with her art club after school, and they're going to start building and creating forests of trees above our lockers and putting in Rooted Together, Growing Strong throughout our whole building, just trying to make that a little bit more of a focus, because you know we're here and we need to make sure we're able to take care of everybody and connect. We're all connected in some way. And so we're doing that, please.
You mentioned something about a staff person in the beginning. Are you calling out a student or staff more at this point? Did you have something else to share about?
Oh, we were sent some staff and student spotlights that we were filling out. I'm not sure what those days.
They go here.
Yeah.
Typically, you did a good job showcasing your school, but typically, why don't you tell us about the 2 spotlights?
Okay,
And
yeah.
I'll push them out on Friday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so Chris Cornell is our custodian. Part of the reason why I chose him, because he's such an amazing individual. He was out on a 13, 14, 20-mile bike ride he just goes out and we'll run to Carlton and back, just whatever fun. And he was actually out getting on his bike, getting ready to go for a long haul. And he knows one of our kids with his bike kind of struggling. And so he pulled over and helped to keep the chain back on and helped him oil it up and made sure it was rideable, and then took off again. And the kid just, was really appreciative, just took the time out of his day, just on a Saturday, just to help one of his kids out that he just sees every day in, day out. Just a really down to earth guy, just a wonderful human being. And he's just, and it's funny because we seem to get some amazing people here. He was given to us by a different building, and he just came on in the last year. He's irreplaceable at this point. He's amazing with the other kids, just how they take care of him, because he works so hard. They take care of him, but even more, because they want to make sure he's not working too hard. So they'll report like, hey, this kid's doing something in the bathroom. They'll come and tell me because they don't want Chris to do all the load of work. So, just a all around great guy. And, I just finished, in last month was our month, for the Kiwanis Trip Kid of the Year for Jalen Valley. And, every year you choose one, and it's so hard to choose one. And this girl I chose, Kendall Crozier, is an amazing student. She won this year. She's just determined and wants to be the best person possible. Not only is she gonna, when she was talking at the, we're talking to her at the ceremony, she said she was stoked to get to high school because she's gonna be doing cross country, she's gonna be doing swimming, she's gonna be doing the unified PE, she's part of Special Olympics. She just does everything. She's a brown belt, on her time sheet, and then you see her school and she's staying late because she wants to understand, not because she has to or her parents make her, she wants to get a grasp of it and understand how important it is. She's just an overall hard worker. Every day, she's high-fiving people, saying hello to people, being a leader. And I don't think she has an enemy in the building because everyone loves Kendall. She's just that all around good and nice kid who wants to see everyone do as well as she is. So she was our Kiwanis Kid of the Year. And those are hard shoes to fill because every year we seem to get some really good ones up there.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And you have a big trip coming up?
I do. We leave in about a week and a half. We fly out May 8th to Osago City. And if you haven't yet, over there is a banner. That's a community festival as well. We're gonna be sending that to the mayor from one sister city to another. As here we are saying hi, and you can please sign it. And we'll be giving that to the mayor first thing when we get there, jet lag and all. So
Wonderful. Well, thank you
thank you.
for hosting us tonight.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, Dave, you wanna?
Yeah, I'll tell you where we're at with our student rep. We're off and rolling. So after spring break, we pushed out kind of some marketing to the high school students. Over April, we got some questions back, people asking, well, what is this position? And talking, we answered those things. We got 7 students who applied. I need to sit down next week with our crew, Saul, Celeste, and James, and we need to talk a little bit. I think we talked about looking at the rubric. I think the questions are okay, but we'll look over the questions and just get that all ready to go. We're scheduled for May 12th to interview the students, so we'll put that in our next board meeting. Really, the only question that's hanging out there is we've got 7 applicants. Do we want to winnow that down? Do we want to interview all 7? I can tell you, having read all of the pieces, Jackie was still putting together the resumes, so we'll have those for you too, but they're all good kids. And there's some kids from some different areas of the school, which again, I think is something that we talked about, trying to make sure there's some other viewpoints out there. So really, that's the only decision. Do we want to winnow? Do we want to just bring all 7 in? And I think last time we asked like 3 questions, that's 21 answers. I can work with that, but really that's just the conversation I think we should kind of narrow down here, how people feel about it.
How long were the interviews? How long was it? 15 minutes or half an hour?
Yeah, it's probably half an hour, 7 questions. I mean, there's 3 questions, 7 people. So it's 21, that's 21 questions that we're asking. So if they take 3 minutes, that's an hour. If they take a minute and a half, and it seemed like we had some, like the first ones went longer and then they got a little shorter after that. But we can also coach the kids up too a little bit.
Are they all, is it a group interview? Like they are all? Okay.
Yep. And just to remind everybody, because the students actually, last time we talked about this, they were the ones that were like, no, you definitely need to do the interviews. They were actually like, that was part of the experience too, because I was kind of headed the other direction, but I think our kids were pretty clear on like, No, this was good to come out and talk about this.
Yeah, I think that would be my thought is let them all interview because it's kind of that experience, that idea that everybody gets that chance to be there and
Yeah.
go through the whole process together.
Yeah, I think it's valuable even for the ones who are not ultimately chosen to be reps. I think they get an experience, especially if they're a junior, then they can decide if they want to do it the year after too. And I think it's good for them, but I also think it's good for us and the community to hear from
Mhm.
7 students. I think that's good. And it's also like a very, very visible reminder of why we're actually doing what we're doing. So
Mhm.
I think all 7, I don't care, let them talk with us. I mean, a half hour is not much.
And we can work with them a little bit on the kind of what kind of, not so much what answers we're looking, but kind of the timing so that we can make this flow. Okay, I'll move forward with that. And then, like I said, I think we just need our subcommittee to, I'll try and find a time next week for us to circle up and just review that rubric and questions so we can kind of nail that down.
Can you remind us, is there a target date for the interviews to happen? Like a
May
target meeting?
12th, I was pushing it May 12th right now.
Okay,
That means that we could either announce, like that gives us like 2 weeks to May 26th to make a decision
right.
and then announce either, you know, that day with the kids in school or that night. If things go wrong, we still have like the 1st June before kids are really out of school. But that's kind of what I was shooting for. Okay, I'll make it happen.
All right, Holly, do you want to come on up?
We can grab that one.
Great. Okay, I'm fine.
We don't.
Am I grabbing something?
Mhm.
Okay. Hello, thanks for having me this evening. We're talking about hello.
You have the clicker over there though. Next to the water bottle.
You would have me walk right now, and the kids need me hike on Sunday and I can barely walk.
Oh, no.
Yeah, let's just say, I thought I was a good answer. I'm just here to give you guys an update of where we're at with COA. COA's mascot is the Dolphins, and let's just say these Dolphins have weathered some storms at sea. So, I just wanna tell you kind of where we've been and where we're headed. And then please fire away with questions. So quick history, I
Why?
mean, they call it the Cove with the dolphins. And maybe I've messed this up. But maybe we have competing mascots. I will get back to you.
Okay, well, that's
But
very
they are the,
intriguing.
there's the koala in its old thing. Maybe it's changing. I'll check. Prior to 2023, COA had a pretty steady presence in our district as first COLA and then COA. We weathered COVID, and thankfully this was already in place because this program really expanded exponentially with the needs that we all faced during the era of COVID. It didn't really change programming, but it definitely relied very heavily on all online instruction, no in-person activities. Coming out of COVID, it continued on with the same programming that was in place prior. More in-person contacts, more activities planned by the educators. But then in the very difficult years of 23, 24, when we went through the heinous cuts that we all lived through, the funding was cut to COA and it was down to 1 instructor, specifically to the K-5 level. And 2 instructors remained with the 6-12 grades. Both those 2 instructors span the 4 main core areas, science and math with 1 instructor, and then ELA and social studies with the other. And that didn't change. But then everything came to a singular instructor for K-5, and that instructor abruptly retired right before the beginning of this year. And without a succession plan in place to equip another instructor to step in with all of that programming in mind, It was a really hard start to a school year, and that's putting it mildly. So, our families were champions and they tried to wade through those waters, no pun intended, with us. And at the same time, we couldn't continue the same type of programming that existed before, and that was hard on our families. And so many families went elsewhere because they wanted a particular type of program for this academic year. So where are we at now? Well, we're still Chehalem Online Academy. We still are here. And I think that is what parents need to hear mostly, is that even through the turmoil of the last few years, we are still actively making decisions to keep COA alive and well. But more importantly, we're listening to how online virtual academies are shifting and changing and have been universally across the state. As parents give more feedback of what they want their learning experiences to look like for their children and what's working in that span of space between a brick and mortar program and their home experiences, and what really matters to them as parents of what's provided on their end to help facilitate their children's learning at home. So the purpose of COA is to create a flexible, supportive learning environment with an alternative approach. And I'll talk about that a little bit more with some specifics. And the promise from us is that we're going to nurture curious, thoughtful learners with strong family partnerships. We can't just send a kid off at home without really fostering a strong commitment with families and have and provide the supports that they need to help their kids thrive at home or in the hybrid model that all of them are looking for. The COA principles are that each student receives a personalized learning experience supported by highly qualified teachers. That personalized learning experience is a really key piece to what parents are after, that their kids are known for their strengths that they have, and also that they get the kind of avenues of learning that is specific to what makes that kid work, especially between the two spaces, social gatherings and in-person opportunities in a learning space, and then they're learning at home. The next is learning opportunities that are challenging, engaging, and relevant, that all students can be successful and reach grade level proficiency. I think this is one of those areas that is the most, area, I don't know how do I want to say this, ODE is requiring accountability for any student within our public school system. This is the area I think that the greatest amount of work has been done, needs to be done with virtual learning opportunities that are through a public school system, is the accountability piece. So knowing that we are keeping kids at grade level and making sure that we can show proficiency and growth at grade level. So this is a huge area that is going to continue to face a lot of, not scrutiny, but just an area of emphasis. How are we helping to support kids get to grade level? Lastly, flexible scheduling allows students to learn in ways that work best for them and support steady progress. So our program features, and this is something that is shifting. So for this year, with one instructor that was so new to the job, we had to really just say, this is the singular path A that we have for kids to operate through COA with. And because of only having one instructor with very little limited experience in how multifaceted our existing programming was, we just had to do what we knew we could sustain for a year. But these program features are what we are bringing back to starting next year with a different instructors. The first is tuition-free online education with a menu of in-person learning opportunities and experiences. And that means that there's sometimes once a month STEAM activities, sometimes once or twice or 3 times a week, particular lessons to that student from an instructor. So this is already giving you a sense of the type of flexibility and opt-in options that we're trying to create for our students. Textbooks and curriculum materials are provided at no cost. A $1,200 stipend for approved enrichment elective credit. This is a continuation of what we've always done, but we're extending this to K6 rather than K5. With also the concept that you're spending about half of this in what would be a semester 1 and a semester 2, even when we're on a trimester system. Chromebooks are provided for free for students, individualized, high quality and challenging learning for each student. flexible options for curriculum, courses, electives, schedules, etc. Inclusive opportunities throughout the year, those specific field trips, celebrations, skill builders and activities that are in person, community building, social skills building. And lastly, enrichment opportunities in persons, such as our STEAM, PE and music classes. So co-enrollment between neighborhood school and COA absolutely will exist next year. To speak a little bit more, we only have so many instructors, so it's not like it's a free-for-all, but we do have a dedicated plan A where it will be primarily online based with an online curriculum tool. That still means that the parents and the students have options to do paper and pencil pieces, but it's primarily through an online format. Then there's a plan B where literally all of the curriculum choices are pen and paper at home. Both education plans, whether you're utilizing the curriculum from A or B, the education plan for that student is developed by the instructors. So specifically what you're working through in each curriculum piece, and then the learning measures or goals are then shown by the assessment pieces that everybody uses in our district, which also works in tandem with the new legislation for accountability and doing 3 times a year progress monitoring and diagnostic of student learning. But that's what parents have been coming back to us saying. We want the social pieces of having activities and enrichments for our students, but we want a lot of their learning to be done at home. We want to have instructors when we need them, especially when we work through challenging materials. We want to be able to have in-person instruction when it's our choosing. We want to have paper and pencil. We want to choose these parts that are online. So it is really developing into a unique hybrid of a brick and mortar experience with all of the flexibility that our families who really want their students majority of their time to be learning at home to make both of those things work. The social connections was also something that kept coming back as a major theme for parents who desperately wanted to come back to COA, but they needed to see all of these options return to the programming we could offer them. We are so excited to tell those families that that is what is being put in place for this next year. There's a lot of familiar faces and names that are rejoining the COA family to make that happen. And I think that that's just seeing those same people who carried this programming before coming back to this work is really exciting for our families. We last night had a very successful open house, tons of kids everywhere, and they were putting sunflower seeds in little cups, getting ready to grow their own window gardens. And they were also doing an art project with watercolors, and just the joy and excitement of being back in that space. I could see it on parents' faces. They were just so excited to see things the way they had been before. It's just, I'm feeling very hopeful for those families because I think they still weren't finding what they were looking for elsewhere. And I think they really want to return to what they experienced for years before this last year. And a special shout out to our current instructor who carried an enormous task for us this year and dealt with so many unexpected twists and turns. She's just been phenomenal. That we're really happy to also bring back people who want to build back the programming that our families are looking for. I just said a lot in a few minutes, so I'm sure you have questions.
Well, I have a comment and a question. So love to hear that it's coming back. With Brandon, it's great to hear. Glad we're kind of going back to some of the, options model in a way, I guess, we get some in-person time versus virtual. Because I'm not saying anybody wasn't a proponent back then, but I definitely was one of the proponents of it, and probably one of the people that had the most criticism of the way it was going. I know when the 4 of us first joined, and this was a hot topic, I remember there was a concern about equity of kids coming to the co-located place, be the COA building or whatever, to do these things and have equity and equality to come to that place. So I think one of the things was like, well, for them to come there, does that mean we have to do buses and do that? Or is this dependent on the parents to bring kids, or like they work together? I guess to me, that's still a concern I have, is like if we have this morning activities can take 3 hours, they all come do an art project or whatever, like how can we make sure all the kids that want to do it have the opportunity to do it?
That's a great question.
So I'll grab that one. One is, I'll do a little more research onto that part. I understand your concern. I'll also say that not all isn't meant to be one thing. And so like there are some kids whose parents are gonna totally connect with the STEM in person, and then there's gonna be other sets of kids who don't connect with that. And our program needs to be flexible enough to manage all of those. One of the problems that we had this year was really around the program was one thing, and we have parents who want a plethora of things. The competition right now, I think, is there's a lot of districts out there who are putting these things in place. This year, I didn't feel like we had a comparable program that I could say, no, we have a program. We have that now. With the building that we're doing right now, I have followed, I think in 2 board meetings ago, we shut the transfers out to 0 except for hardships. And I've held that line, and it's been some challenging conversations, but we're still holding that line. And part of the reason is because it feels like we have a really good alternative, the ability to connect to music and PE and these other pieces. But that's something that other places don't have, that we do. I will say the $1,200 figure up there, we actually need to do a little bit of research around that, because of we may need to think about that number. It's a challenging environment that we're sitting in right now that we're competing with. And I feel like, again, we have to provide something that's comparable. So I'm working on, that's still something that we're kind of working on. But I will go back and take a look at the transportation and see how big of a barrier that is. We do have buses running all the time, and I know Nate's gonna be like, no. But we have buses running all the time everywhere, so there's probably a way for us to kind of figure out if there were some equity pieces here around kids needing transportation. We could probably figure that one out, because there are buses moving all the time.
Because if I could piggyback on that, I think there's a fear that I have that students who don't grasp on the CT or something like that could be because it's inconvenient for parents, and so like, we're not gonna do that, and that's okay, we're gonna do this instead, and
Yeah.
it just, it would be, it'd be unfortunate if students' learning outcomes were decided by their families trying to, survive in their own way by not being able to do that.
Mhm.
So I think that's it.
I'll talk with, I think my own observation of the STEM classrooms that we had right last year that I was coming into, the COAs STEM field trips, there was a lot of kids and a lot of joy. So I think, I'm not sure that missing those is really there's many folks doing that. But I will go back and we'll talk with our crew and just find out a little bit more about those concerns, and we'll put some things in place. I mean, we want people to, our schools are what draw folks. So getting folks into our schools, that's something that's important. So that's something we would want to make happen.
I have a couple questions. Oh, go ahead. The $1,200 or whatever it's going to land on, what are some of the things that our families are using that on?
Typically, it's for recreation, music, art. It would be some of the pieces that our other kids get every day built into their classrooms. It's meant to supplement some of those activities.
Most commonly music lessons, language lessons, pottery, things that those kids are accessing on a flexible schedule, but also for whatever reason they're not accessing in our brick and mortar buildings.
Other questions about just sort of the enrollment process. Are there families who you find are really, choosing this from the get, from kindergarten on? are we seeing families that transition into this because of the hardship or illness and then transition back out? What does that kind of flow look like?
Well, it runs the gamut,
Mhm.
as you can imagine. I think we had 2 kinder this year. And some have particular medical needs, that this was the best option for them because the flexibility was the determining issue. We've had some kids wrestling with behavior, and it was better for them to be in a model like this. So it really just, it is everything. There's no perfect place on this earth, and there's no perfect school on this earth. And so we capture, even though we have outstanding classrooms, and we always are trying to get everybody back into brick and mortar classrooms because we know our environments are awesome for kids. And there's so much within that experience in the day that you can't replicate in other ways. It's just, when you have exceptional circumstances, this is a great program to have.
For some of our older students, thinking about high schoolers that really didn't have credits completed and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Is that transfer window, is it tied to a trimester, a semester, is it?
So when we're talking the 6-12 programming, it's very different than our K-5 this year. And we're transitioning to K-6 next year. That'll be a little different for those 6th graders. And we might look at 7th and 8th grade in the next years, changing a bit as well. But the high school matches the trimester exactly. So they're doing the same thing, just on an online program. And right now, we're not talking about intense in-person sessions for those high school credits through COA.
So I'll also tell you that I started probably mid-year bringing together folks who have an interest in COA Elementary. They kind of developed a vision, a mission, started to look at where we wanted to go, what we needed to do to fix it. Secondary COA, I've been just in the last month and a half, been meeting with them. I met with them on Friday, on the furlough days. It was the only moment that we had, but we started coming together around them developing a vision. I think there's more that we could do. They've been, it's been 2 people for, I think there are 105 students. They're so, it's a lot for 2 staff. And they've just been doing what they have to do to kind of make it work. I want to start talking about how we develop something better. And it's really interesting because at the secondary COA, there are kids who would benefit from some in-person stuff. And there's a whole nother set of kids who do not want that. And that's not, they just want to get going. And so like that program has to hit a lot of different areas. But I'm right in the middle of kind of reforming that group up to kind of put together a vision and mission and kind of look at how we're going to evolve that program too.
And is it something, sorry, turns out I'm curious about this. Can a family kind of just say on any given week, oh, we want to do this? Now, what is the actual process for a family, requesting it? What is that?
Yeah,
timeline
there's an
look like?
application process to be considered for COA, and then there's a team meeting. Especially when we have special programs involved and we have other considerations. We want to make sure that this is a good fit for this kid and their needs in the here and the now, and for the family. So there's a bit of a team decision that goes into that.
That ties into my promised last question. Do we have students that are receiving services that are on IEP and 504? What does that look like in the COA world?
Yes, and they serve them in the schools.
Okay.
And so the special design instruction is happening at the schools. That's another area for us though that needs attention as we develop this program. Like specifically, it's been really confusing, I think, for the folks at COA because they're working with 6 different buildings and 6 different special ed teachers. And so it's one of the things that we've identified in our kind of visioning meetings about, hey, we need to talk about how the system works. Again, at the point at which you're at 100 kids, we can start like allocating staff to the program to do that maybe differently. But currently that's not the way our system was set up. And so we're working around that. There was one question that you asked, it was mostly secondary COA, and the timing of entry is more important than the secondary COA. So like it isn't just like hey, I want to do this now.
Yeah.
There's like some moments of entry with that secondary COA that makes sense with them teaching a course, them doing some sort of assessment, and then issuing out a credit. There is some entry points there. We still need to work with that a little bit because as a kid struggle in the brick and mortar high school, a lot of times that happens quickly. And so like, how was the transition going to the alt program? And if there is that entry, what are they doing in the meantime? And how do we kind of build a welcoming on-ramp for them? So those are still issues for us that we're working through.
And I'll add that even though it is a really flexible program, there's still daily attendance activities that is required for the students to stay. And there is probation, and there are steps. If you don't do your part within this program, you don't stay within that program. So there's a ton of things to talk through case by case with all the families, but daily attendance required that you're doing your work as outlined in your education plan. So.
As a parent, I had a couple go through COVID in high school. Or a mix where they did like, electives at school and their primary subjects online. Yeah, it's very rigorous on that perspective. You gotta check in, a couple of them got in trouble for lapsing a little too much, maybe 3 or 4 days in a row, like, no, you gotta get caught up. So, and I would agree the transition can be better, but it's always, definitely is Tim, so but he's always acceptable meeting with us and transitioning as needed, so.
And just to lay it out there, Tim is helping. He's probably the most knowledgeable alternative ed guy around.
Yeah.
And so we're definitely utilizing some thinking from Tim.
When you say Tim, are you talking about?
Tim Graham. Yeah, absolutely.
I have a lot of questions as well. My first question is really just one that isn't just applicable to this. I find myself struggling to think on the spot as I hear different presentations. Is it possible for us to get these slides in our board packets prior to the meeting? I would really welcome the opportunity to look at these ahead of time, so I kind of have an idea of what I might want to ask.
Sure.
So I think, so what I would say, Andy, is this, and I just want to give you the other viewpoint, is a lot of times I don't want you to have the slides ahead of time because I want to be able to explain them. Because if you get them ahead of time and you don't hear my words, then sometimes you're going to go off in a direction that I don't want you to go in because of my words would have cleared that up. Now, with that said, I'm open to do whatever the board wants me to do, but that's why we don't sometimes put, especially this kind of material. If it was dense and there were lots of numbers, a lot of times we'll try and push that ahead of time. But that would be our reasoning for wanting to hold it.
Okay. Well, if the slides were going to be given to us in lieu of a presentation, I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
My vote would be to have that.
Yep.
What's our current enrollment at COA?
So which grade levels? All of it?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't look before this meeting, but I should have. I think we were at 100 between our 6-12 students, but our K-5 has dwindled down to 14 now. We were at 12 for a while, and then 2 kids just joined. So it has never been this low. That's a reflection of the turmoil of this year. And then at our open house, we had probably over 20 families who are anxious to come back. They didn't enroll that day, so I don't want to give a false sense that they're all going to enroll. But they're definitely interested in returning.
Sure. So 106-12-ish and 14 and 85. Okay. How does that compare
So
to trends?
Let me just we're about 127 students right now, total K-12. off of Tanya's last attendance piece. So,
At about that proportion.
Yeah.
K-5 is okay. What's been the trend there? I understand the circumstances that
Yeah.
are difficult this year. but-
So last year, or coming into this year, we had over 37 K-5 students.
And is that kind of the, has that been kind of the norm?
Yeah, I would say it's growing with the growth of the programming we have to offer. But that is a perfect example of why we need succession planning for the particular instructors in this program. Because with them is that institutional knowledge of how they manage all of the different options within the curriculum choices. Very hard for someone to land in one day and be able to continue all of that. And so we're learning how important it is that we have multiple people involved in that process.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. My assumption is that you've talked about shifting from K-5 to K-6 next year. My assumption is that's to kind of balance out the numbers a little bit, take some of the burden off
so
of the sixth.
specifically for next year, that's exactly some of the thinking right now. One is that I think the students who are coming out of the K-5 program, those parents are looking for a 6th and 7th grade program that's closer to what we're doing in elementary COA. So really K-7, I think, is what you're gonna see us. It'll also help us shift some burden off of our 2 FTE in the high school and allow us to kind of create a fuller program that isn't just those two cranking away on online, Edgenuity courses, that kind of thing.
So, what is our cap for attendance, for enrollment in COA? If there was a limit,
Yeah,
For one instructor, I can tell you it was around 36, so that was a lot, because it's K-5, right? It's not just 35 in one grade level. So I think that is something as we have families returning to us, that we have to start putting some thought into. Right now, there's room to grow. Well, there's more than one instructor. But we're anticipating growth, so we just don't know what our numbers will look like. But it was definitely a challenge to manage 35 individual learning plans across grades K-5.
and it sounds like 100, or maybe 100 plus has been a challenge for our secondary team.
yeah, I think they would say that some of the other cuts to the program were probably more impactful. Part of the issue that they're having is that we cut the secretary and who did a lot of the registration. And that's actually been, I think, in some ways more impactful because of now there's a 0.5 at Catalyst who's also doing a lot of the registration and personal education plans for the COA students. But they're doing a lot of administrative kind of work now, the teachers are, and that's created more challenges for them to just be focused on the instruction. So that's again, part of what we're trying to, we're in the midst of budget problems here. By the same token, we do have to find ways to fix some of these pieces and like finding some sort of administrative assistant kind of time is going to be really important for us as we're moving forward. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet, but that's, again, I know very impactful to them.
That's helpful to know. How does the funding work for COA? Are students funded at the same sort of ADM and weighted ADM if as they qualify? Okay.
Yes.
So does the $1,200 that families are given for sort of outside of the school day things, does that come sort of from the general fund?
Yeah.
From that amount of money?
Yep.
Okay. And just to be clear, when you were talking about that being something that we need to look at, are you thinking that there's a chance that that might reduce or need to go away?
No, I think it needs to go up.
You think it needs to go up?
Right.
Okay. So this is getting my brain now thinking about like, what are some of the costs of COA? I would imagine that it's uniquely positioned in some ways because, you have, a limited number of teachers, but you know, particularly at the ratios that we're talking about, but I'm also assuming that there are costs in terms of ingenuity and the curriculum that we're using. What does that look like compared to students that are in the brick and mortar schools?
Why don't we bring you back? I don't wanna, speculate. I'd rather bring you some real numbers. And, there's, let us bring you something that's real. I don't wanna speculate. I do know in my own head, when I do math, this program has 130 students in it at $12,000 a student. And it's got, I mean, what we're forecasting, I think is 4.5 FTE total through the whole thing. That is not anywhere close to that number, even with the ingenuity and the reimbursement. Now, we have an issue right now because we have budget issues. And so like me fixing this whole piece, it's gonna take time because we can't turn it on a dime. But there is like, this program is feeding the general fund. So cutting it means we have to cut more money. Like, that's why, again, we've got to make this vibrant.
Yeah, I agree. And that's kind of the intent of my questions. Like, I'm trying to understand, I'm trying to give anyone who's listening a chance to understand. I've heard COA referred to as a revenue generator for the district, and I'm just trying to understand how that works.
Yeah.
So it's not like anyone who wanted to sign up would get in, right? Because we have a limited number of FTE. So I would love to hear a little more about how it is a revenue generator for us, and what does that look like? To what degree is it a revenue generator for us? I think this is a very timely conversation for us to have. I mean, we're in budget season.
Yeah.
I have a couple of other questions that I'm hoping are faster than this. I'm curious about how electives work. So are students attending those in their neighborhood schools?
They can co-enroll and then attend electives, attend music, attend PE. It is difficult. The burden really goes to our counselors then to schedule things. But that is something that, again, more conversation for next year to hopefully streamline the process a bit. But co-enrollments are absolutely part of the program.
How tricky does it get to schedule those students?
Super tricky.
Yeah.
If you had,
I also say this year, like we moved away from co-enrollment. I don't know exactly why, except for I know it's a real challenge, the coordination between the programs, the counselors and the rest. But for us to move this thing forward, that's part of the reason this is attractive is we have these schools, we have these teachers. We need to find ways to connect our community to those resources. So we have some work to do. And I think simplifying like when they were doing the co-enrollment before, you were like coordinating with 6 different counselors and 6 different principals. I think part of the solution's got to be trying to winnow that down to a smaller subset of folks who are doing the coordination.
and then the last question is around specially designed instruction at schools. Is that also happening at neighborhood schools?
Yes, but that's again one of the real challenges is I think, we just had this conversation in our last kind of COA meeting. And it kind of, I think, comes down to us allocating some FTE into COAs to have somebody who's managing those instead of sending it out to the buildings to manage. I believe that's what's been happening.
Yeah, it goes to whatever is their home school, that the school case manages and provides instruction, especially design instruction, and it can be either online or in person.
Thanks. I look forward to seeing this on a future agenda.
Yeah.
And some more information.
I just have a couple quick ones. With PE, how is that time requirement built? Is it the same as what we expect in schools?
Yeah, so following, are you talking about legislation around PE?
Yeah, just kind of like our elementary school is doing. 4
PE
days.
is offered every day, right? And if we fulfill our minutes. So whether a family chooses to participate or not in our building is up to the family. But that's the enrichment funds then also cover to access PE-like activities for them that are not the same as a school PE, but fulfilling that same need.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then just on that same, that $1,200 thing, I'm just curious, and is there like a list of accepted?
Yeah, approved vendors.
Okay,
Mhm.
perfect.
Yep, embedded that they're providing by licensed trained people with service
Good.
that a student needs.
And I guess on that same note though, in this like dual enrollment idea, let's say a kid wants to do music at the middle school.
Mhm.
Does that money come in to support the program at the middle school? Would it come from there? I know we had a conversation years ago about homeschool kids who would come into the music program and there was a fee that was associated with that. I don't know if that's related at all or if some of that money would go to that program from.
So we charge the fee because we don't collect any ADM for those
Okay.
students. We're collecting the ADM in this one, so that money is in our general fund. I wouldn't say that we allocate it specifically student by student to a school.
Sure.
But the general fund allocation, we're getting all the ADM for that student.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Look forward to more good news. Really hopeful about Coles growth.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. Thanks for the questions. That was a deep dive.
I'm leaving this right here.
Okay, neat.
All right. Fight for a long time, so let's see, words here, more. Okay, so. Packet. Noticed, cover the page is not in here.
Those are yours.
So I'll just start with, now. I'll give it. March was a very hard month. We had about 10 revenue updates from last year, from this year. We had 3 for high cost disability, plus the ESD update to our transit funds. And of those 10 updates, one of them was positive. So I told Dave the other day, I'm like, I'm only going to recognize 75% of whatever projection we have at this point. So what you're seeing in front of you is a reflection of a lot of downward revisions that I didn't anticipate. And I want to recognize a piece of communicating this, not too vulnerable, I'm not going to go off the rails here, but there's a piece of doing this job where I want to be right, but I want to be real too. And so when things like this happen, I wanted the last finance update, I'm like, okay, I think we're going to hit 1 million. But things happen, things that I didn't foresee, and that happens every year. And not to drive the nail in any further, but I mean, with such a scarce fund balance, every little adjustment, we had 10 adjustments, $100,000 is a lot of money. We had one today that was not a huge adjustment, but it was $12,000. So that isn't minus $12,000, and these things happen. So I need to say that before I go on, is that this is hard because I have an expectation that I give you the right information, but the information changes. I want it to be a reflection of the information, not so much as my ability and my pride or anything like that. So that said, okay. And the cover sheet that was on here, I did email to you guys. Noticed it wasn't in here today, but there's just some comments on there that are, so our property tax revenues are trending at 4.3% growth. That's both assessed value and growth in the base. And it's actually about, right now, as of March 31, within $12,000 of what we projected. So that's good. That was a good number. So we had updates to high cost disability, which one of them was a negative adjustment, and we were anticipating a little bit of positive money for that. And that was the hardest one that brought us down, because when you go from expecting a positive number to a negative number, it's not just the negative that hurts you, it's the other gap too. So that was the one that really nailed us there.
So let's just talk about high cost disability, because of what this is funding meant for all students who in their special education services cost more than $30,000. The current, so there's a pool of money that they allocate. The pool doesn't change, but the numbers that districts are putting out does. The current reimbursement rate for high cost disability is
22 cents on the dollar.
22 cents on the dollar. From where it was years ago. I mean, that's the thing that is really, and all districts are feeling this because we're all putting in the cost. That 30,000 mark hasn't moved in a long time, and $30,000 doesn't go as far as it used to. But this high cost disability is really a huge issue for the whole state right now. So just want to make sure we said that.
Yeah, and ODE is proposing a funding distribution change that they tried to implement in one meeting, and thankfully they got a lot of pushback, and so then they gave an option. Anyway, it's going to be a conversation for a few years. So
I guess on that, are we expecting to receive anywhere close to that 880,000
in the budget,
that we were expecting originally in revenue?
you're talking about on the budget line?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the over under
Oh, on 30, are you on state school fund?
the other state grants, high cost disability. Is that not the revenue we're talking about right now?
Yes, that is right. So the projected that you see there is 159,000.
That's what we've actually received.
We haven't received it yet, that's what we're anticipating.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're not anticipating the other 880,000.
No. Yeah, so we budgeted $1 million, expecting $1 million for that, and we're getting 10% of that. And there's been changes in not just how high cost disability is funded and with people accessing that fixed pot of money, but also that we're reporting it right, we're reporting information the way we should, and that definitely can as well. So there's been changes in how we're reporting and how we're receiving that.
I guess I'm just, did I miss something with the conversation? We're sort of getting 22 cents on the dollar for how we're reporting. I guess I'm confused at how were we getting closer to that $1 million before and it's dropped off by 90%? I'm just confused.
So the amount that we've reported has gone down.
Okay,
The amount that the state is offering has gone down. And it's a very complicated thing. So we receive half of the payment up front at a certain rate. Then we receive the second half of the payment the next year at whatever the revised rate is based on the people that are submitting their cost to be reimbursed. So say last year we received $500,000, that was at 44 cents on the dollar. Then everybody submitted their high cost claims, and then it goes down to 22% or 22 cents on the dollar for that, which with our reduced claim amount and a lower percentage of the dollar that we get, it creates a vacuum of funds that we expect.
Can you explain why our recording cost was lower?
Yeah, I have the same question.
Maybe we could come back, or do you want to answer?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can answer. So,
You want to step over?
Well, yeah, so we can get you on the mic.
Because the secondary to that question is, just as the observation of, wow, it seems like we have higher children with higher disability needs, so why are we reporting lower?
so it's very complicated. I'm gonna try to give you a really short little. So what happens is we turn in an estimate. So we look at every single IEP in the district and we run a report to see, like who has a one-on-one, who's in a specialized placement, who has transportation, who gets site services, there's a whole bunch of things, like Nate has seen it, it's kind of a crazy report. So we kind of figure out and then we figure out how much does each one of those things cost per hour. We run this big formulated sheet and we figure out, so how much per student they cost above $30,000. We turn in an estimate to the state based on that, or like for 25, 26, we turned our estimate in December. Next year, next March, we turn in our actuals. If any kid has moved out of the district, then we don't get to count them. And so what happened this year was when we ran our actuals for 24-25, we had a lot of kids that were no longer here. They've moved away, some very expensive kids. And so we weren't able to claim them as actuals for 24-25. And so what happened was our actuals are much less than we anticipated.
Right. So did they move out before the end of the 24-25 school year?
Yeah, well, or if they just don't come back in 25-26, you don't get to count them for the 24-25. If they are not in your district when you turn in actuals, you don't get to.
Even if you.
I love our state.
Money in-
Okay.
For the
Even
out-
if you spent the money.
Wow.
Does that apply to graduation?
To graduation?
Like
No,
12th graders who
Right.
graduated out.
no, we can count them.
Okay.
Yeah, we are able to count graduated students. That's a good question. Usually though, in that situation, they're still with us because usually the kid is costing us that much money, they're still in our transition program. But we have students that cost around $100,000, so some of those services are pretty expensive.
Does every district run the same model? Do they estimate costs in the same way?
Well, no, so yes, they're supposed to. But what happened a couple of years ago that really hurt all of us is that one of the biggest districts in the state, to remain unnamed, didn't run theirs correctly. And then when they actually did their actuals, it messed up everybody's return. And so we got I think Newberg got like $15,000. Like it was a really small little.
We were anticipating 400, we got 50.
It's really important that we all do it right when we do our estimates, or else we all pay the price for it.
So people can understand listening at home, the state requires us to provide these services that cost up to, like you said, $100,000, but they're not providing the reimbursements.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I know that there's been a lot of conversations in the community about certain costs and why are we in these funding things, and so that they can understand this is one of those problems where I think you've said it before, Dave, we have state mandates, but not state funding to cover those mandates.
And these are really good mandates, right? We want to take
Yeah.
care of our kids. We want to do what
Yeah.
they need. And it sometimes costs quite a bit of money and we don't get
And,
reimbursed for
and I
it.
agree on a moral stance where
Yeah.
this is the right thing to do, but I also want to say that there might be advocates out there that saying, well, then if we're not gonna get paid for it, we shouldn't do it, but we can't. Like, that we literally have to do this, not only morally, but legally.
And it's
we
not
have
just
to provide
state,
these.
it's federal. Federal rules, yeah.
So if I could, one more question on it, there's no budget line from last year, is that because it was coded different?
It all comes in the same.
What's that?
It comes in the same line in the year.
I just meant the 24-25,
Budget has.
everything else has numbers, that's one of the ones that had just the dash.
So nothing's gonna change in the 24-25 budget because it's closed. So
Yeah, I'm not
it
trying to
wasn't-
see change, I'm trying to see what did we get last year revenue.
It wasn't,
It doesn't seem to be on there, so I'm just curious.
you're right, it's not.
We can push that out.
Okay,
Why don't we, I mean, I think
Just
that's
trying to
interesting
compare.
numbers to look at
yeah,
where our high cost disability's been.
cause I think you just said that we were expecting maybe 400,000 and we got maybe 15. So,
Well, then I would, and maybe we spend a special session on this, I don't know, or, a dedicated topic about this. But I thought, like, we have a Medicaid line. Do we not bill Medicaid and get money back from Medicaid? Cause I know districts do that.
We're gonna start doing that next year. We have a plan, so we will
Okay.
be billing Medicaid next year.
Yeah, cause we have OT, we have speech, right? We have these services that we're doing that would be covered under the Medicaid.
We'll
Okay.
start, not everything is covered, but
Well,
we'll
not,
start out slow and
Yeah.
we're gonna start with our mental health services and then we're hoping to pick up more and more services as we go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One of the other pressures that hit us in March was we had an SIA overspend on some salaries that had to come back into the general fund. We don't reduce that position right away. You generally pull that cost back into the general fund when the grant is over expended, so that came in. And of course, I'm thinking back to Holly's comment about the germ factories and high
No.
germ storm, that's what it was, yeah. And high high absence rates, which results in higher sub costs, so we're watching that as well. So those are all the pressures that have hit
all in March and have resulted in this balance coming down. I believe that this is probably where we're gonna land is around 700,000. But again, our risk is down, right? That's where the risk is. And so, last week we communicated, spending freeze in district. We're not hiring any more positions for the remainder of the year. We're restricting classified subs to only those student facing, roles and, asking principals, to be specific about licensed subs where it's absolutely necessary. If there's ways to have coverage or other imaginative ideas to avoid having subs in, we want to do that. Yeah, so we've kind of put the clamp down on expenditures where we can to try and save and ensure that we end in a good spot next year. And so, yeah, so that's what gets to your 732. And then just to highlight some things that have come up later since this report on page 9 at the top, and it'll be demonstrated in the appropriation transfer budget item 2. One of the things that I didn't project well in this budget was the transition or the transfer of benefit cost to salary. And we had one revision earlier to get us closer, but it wasn't enough. And so we're going to be transferring some budget from the 2000s to the 1000s later on. And then in the special revenue funds, in the food service side, we have some potential for being out of appropriation there. The revenue is good there for them. So we're just going to have an increase in appropriation to cover those costs of the 3,000 levels in the second section down there. And it doesn't show.
Nate, could you speak to specific line items? Sorry if I missed that.
So the 3,000 community services under special revenue funds, that's where food service operations is. So that 103,773, we're gonna move some budget from other appropriations to make sure we're within appropriation before we hit June there. And then it doesn't show here, but it will on the appropriation transfers, the cost of issuance for the Dundee property loan was not factored into that, so we'll have a little increase there for that one too. That's what I have for you guys today.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
I'll first just try to hit it feels like most people in a position like ours might use the phrase month to month, right? Or month to month. It feels like we're month to month, right? The sort of sense of urgency that I feel when I look at these, and as I've heard the updates over the last couple of meetings of just being optimistic that we'll hit that million, and it's not only are we just gonna miss it, like it keeps going down. Our ending fund balance keeps going down. So to me, that feels like we're in an urgent situation. And I think we all have understood that, but I feel like I feel that in my body here tonight. Like I feel like this is urgent. How many more adjustments do we have over the course of the rest of the year?
For state school fund, we don't have it. The last one came out today.
Okay.
So the risk that we would have would be to property tax, which is coming in as expected. Wanted to know that kind of information. Interest has been okay, but that was one that I wasn't sure we were going to land. We're still earning about 4%, just a hair over 4% on our OJIP, which has been good. Let's see. The USD came in higher, which was good. That was helpful. That offset some of that, which is the 2102 under intermediate sources. Higher than it was projected, not what was budgeted. Yeah, everything else we're right there. So.
What about for like high cost disabilities? We've been talking about that. Are you anticipating any additional adjustments there?
That was one that came in part of today was that was this 159 was my revised down. And then what came in today was 140 on that one, so that's 12,000 from today, so.
What, as of now, if this were our ending fund balance this year, the 732, what percentage is that?
Run a calculation.
Yeah. The 1% would be 602,000 or 603,000. 1.3.
Quick guess, 1.2.
1.3.
Human
1.2.
Graduate from the- good job,
I did.
good job.
Okay. I'm not sure I have any more questions. I just, I think I'm feeling this tonight.
Absolutely. I think, again, this illustrates the issue of not having an ending fund balance. Because this is what we go through every day, every week. Because we don't have any fund balance to cushion some of these ups and downs. Locking the POs so that we're not spending, I mean, basically we have to, that's why we've stopped the POs. We're having the secretaries release the encumbered amounts. At the beginning of the year, they'll start to encumber money for paper and for other things that they haven't spent yet. We're having them release that money. Now, again, between now and the end of the year, Nate's assistant is not getting filled because of, that's all money that we need to pull back between now and the end of the year. So yeah, but again, to be honest, we've been fighting every day, all year long, trying to keep this ending fund balance rolling. So it's a struggle. And in the comments later, you guys can talk about why this is important.
I think maybe where my mind is at is I see a path where, the community has a chance to weigh in on the levy and it passes and we're able to make up our budget shortfall and start to rebuild that ending fund balance. I'm less clear of how we do that, of how we rebuild our ending fund balance if the levy doesn't pass. And I think, I know this isn't a budget meeting, we'll do that next week. But next week, I think we need to talk about that.
Yeah.
What does it look like to rebuild our fund balance? Because I don't remember, Dave, I'm thinking about the graph that you shared that shows the trend of our ending fund balance. And I don't recall if it was this low last year. This
No,
feels
it's not.
lower than last year.
Yes, currently, it was at 1.6 million is where we ended last year.
Yeah.
That was 2.9%.
Yeah.
Again, this isn't, there's some other pieces going on here, which is state school funding, which is why every school district right now is really struggling. I mean, there's a couple other things that are feeding into these challenges that were not only us with high cost disability, but there's a state funding issue here too, that is with this. And I'm glad you said that because we were just working over that agenda today, and that's actually one of the things we're going to present is kind of what is the plan of how we would utilize the levy to rebuild any fund balance and transition out of that. What does that look like? So we will present that next week.
And I hope, what does it look like for us to start rebuilding if the levy does not pass? Because our budget is being planned as if the levy wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Is my understanding.
Yeah, I can just tell you that it doesn't, it's gonna be a challenge. Like, it won't be something that's like, well, we're gonna fix it in this budget. It's gonna be 5 years of trying to move this thing forward. It is
I understand the challenge for sure. I do. And I understand that it's a systemic issue, but I think our responsibility as a board is to have these hard conversations, right? And to talk about it and to set some goals. I mean, can we make a goal of 3%?
I think,
2.5?
I think the reality is that without this levy, and that the public needs to understand is it will be darn near impossible. I think that's the reality. I don't think we can set that goal. I think without dramatic, disastrous results for our kids, I think that without this levy and what the public, I think we just really need to, that's a pipe dream. It really is. Without the levy, we cannot get it done in any realistic way that will not harm our kids. And I think that's the message that people don't understand out there. When I'm seeing some of the chatter, we can't do it. I just don't think we can, because we're seeing stuff like this, like what we're seeing, this 22 cents on the dollar, these things. We can plan all we want, but the state just keeps doing things. The state kept and then not giving us the money. And I think that's it. I think that's really what it comes down to. So at least in my opinion, everything I'm saying is there is no way to do it without things like shutting down schools that don't need to be shut down, class sizes that go up, and test scores and graduation rates falling. And I think that's the message that's what I'm telling my neighbors. That's what I'm saying is if this does not pass, your property rates drop because our schools drop. And I think that's what it is. So I don't know if we can do that. I think, yes, obviously we have to have those conversations, but I mean, I think it's a generation.
Yeah, a decade. That's what I know.
About it.
I think to put it in context, 2.3 million, 0.5 million, we talk about just days alone at 236,000 a day, that's 10 days. That's almost 20 teachers. And to have that happen in a year would be catastrophic. I think that's my thought anyway, but the scale that we're operating at and the scale of reductions is necessary. Unless the legislature miraculously comes through on some money to do it in a year, I think it would be definitely very hard.
When will we know more or learn more about the executive order the governor put in? That'd be a topic for next week on the budget committee, or is that something more for back to the board?
We can talk about it. I don't think it's really gonna impact us.
Okay.
If it does, then we have to create a plan of how it's gonna be okay by 27, 28. The order itself says that you have to be at least at the amount that you were in 24, 25. We had 8 furlough days. This year we had 5 furlough days, and the budget for next year is 4. So we've restored furlough days each year in our plan. So I don't think we don't have to ask for a waiver, because we're still, according to Division 22, it's now 2 tests. There's like Division 22, and then there's, do you have furlough days? I'm not exactly sure. ODE is now has to call the districts and get our information. So when I get the phone call from ODE, I'll work with them. I don't think by what they put that we trigger their thing, but even if they say we do, then we'll create the plan of how we're gonna get back to no furlough days, which is what we want desperately. But right now, I don't think by what they've written, I don't think we qualify, but we'll find out.
So just to clarify, in the middle of budget season, the executive order that came out, you as administration don't have clear definitions from the state on what they're expecting for how we do or do not deal with the financial crisis.
So ODE, when I met with COSA on Friday, ODE is putting together rules. So the executive order came out and ODE is putting together rules. We know the basis of those rules, but there are still some things as superintendents were talking about their individual circumstances like ours, the base year that they're measuring has 8 furlough days. Yeah, so like each year, we've restored time. So I'm anticipating that they're gonna come out with kind of a set of rules that we can look at that, but according to what they put out so far, I don't think we triggered our language.
I just wanna make clear that we're in a situation where we're in the middle of doing a budget in a really difficult time and we're placed in a situation where there's uncertainty about our biggest issues.
I think it's ridiculous that they've thrown another unfunded mandate out as us in the middle of our budget season.
So period.
I think it's
Really
ridiculous.
When, then it's not just, I mean, when the news is full of school districts struggling, so the governor would have to be blind to, you know, they would have to be purposely ignoring things to not see it and understand the effect that it would have. I can say things if you need.
Nate, do you have any more budget information for us tonight that you would like to?
For the update.
Okay. Are there any more questions for Nate specifically for this?
Oh, I did have.
No, these are the next two items.
Yeah,
I did have one more thing. We are looking at, a number of small value, recodes that we can move over to try and help as well. So it's just like the arduous looking at $100 expenses, things like that, that might be coded to another fund. So things like that. We're looking. Well, I should say that.
okay.
But yeah, we'll find things.
So then if we don't have any more specific questions about this, then maybe we move on.
Yep.
And have Nate talk to us about the resolution 2026-13.
Okay, so, so Oregon budget law requires that we have, appropriation level set, and then we can't spend money outside of that appropriation level. Violates, the law. So we have a process where we identify what we think we're gonna spend. So we're not, even though these financial reports show that we're out of, there's a negative sign there, we're not there yet. So, usually everything solidifies in June where we run out of space. So we're projecting that the 1,000s in the general fund is under capacity. And so what we want to do is move, if you can see that line 1,000, we want to increase that appropriation 700,000. And then we're going to take 500,000 out of the 2,000s, which is our support services, to offset that, and then do a slight budget increase of 200,000 just to give us some space. So my thought there is that I want to make sure that if we have higher sub costs that come in again, that we don't have those hit in June, and that 1,000 won't have us be over appropriation. We can move things around, but we have to have the appropriation to make the expense in the first place. So that's what that's there for. So that's the general fund. And then a special, oops, I'm missing a V on there, special revenue funds, that's what the revenue. This is taking existing budget appropriation and just moving it out of the 1,000s and the 2,000s into the 3,000s. One of the rules on appropriation changes by the board is that it cannot exceed 10% of that appropriation level, and then it's pointing out that that's 0.8% increase there on that. And again, that's for food service on their expenditures. And then on the back side, on the debt service side, this has to do with the fees that were attached to the principal loan for the Dundee property that we refinanced. We're just is $49,000, but it's going up to 50 on that in that 5,000 transfer debt service line. So that's just giving us the ability to have that expense in.
So to me, the first two make sense because when you look at the appropriations from your budget update, I can see, okay, well, we're over budget by 585 on general fund 1,000, right? So that's why we're moving something into it. What I don't see though is the debt services where we're over under and why we need to move 50,000 in there.
So the transactions are so low on the debt service fund, we don't encumber the funds. So we have our principal and interest payments still coming out on the 2021 general obligation bond, our PERS bond, and our small scale energy loan. So those are literally 6 transactions pending right now. And so those don't show up in the encumbrance. But if I was to do those in there, would be over $49,000.
Gotcha. So if we look at we have the big printout like we see in the budget meetings, then we would be able to see all those line items.
Yeah, if you go to the debt service section of your proposed budget, there's a table there that shows
Right.
our debt service.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I move that the Dundee Schools Board of Directors approve resolution 2026-13 appropriations of the general fund, special revenue and debt service budgets as presented and specified.
Second.
Any further questions?
Yes, yes, I do.
Okay.
I just, I wanna make sure I'm clear about, I'm looking at the bottom of the general fund table in the resolution. Seeing the change, increases the budget by $200,000. I wanna make sure I'm clear about where those 200,000 are coming from.
So it's not an expenditure change, it's giving us capacity in the budget. So I don't anticipate that $200,000 is gonna be an actual expenditure. I just wanna make sure that we have room in that 1,000 level in case that level goes above the 1,000. But I want, so I guess capacity is really the word put in there. We're not getting any more revenue, but we're gonna show in a line of revenue to make the budget match. But this is just giving us room for the activities that happen between now and June.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that clarification.
Any other questions? Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Nate, you got a tough job. Hard, I'm sure hard to come and talk about sort of the difficulties of the budget. Appreciate what you do.
Good.
What?
Second.
Okay, so then let's talk about the budget calendar.
Okay, so in the last budget meeting, we talked about, we talked about the potential of the levy passing and how that's gonna change what the budget committee could approve. And so the change to the calendar is, originally the May 26th date was the budget hearing. However, if the levy passes, change that meeting to be a revised appropriation and tax approval by the budget committee, which would give us the capacity to use those funds, but also we'd levy the tax. And then it would move if you go on the back page, it would move the budget hearing to the June 9th meeting if that passes. And then as opposed to the May 26th meeting. So it just kind of creates an option on those two dates, just so we look on the calendar.
I move that the Newburgh Dundee Public Schools Board of Directors approve the 2025-2026 budget calendar revised for the 2026-2027 budget as presented.
Second. Any questions? After the vote, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, so now this is the time when we'll sort of go around. Dave, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I just wanted to give everybody in our community an update on where we're at with the Dundee property. After following a careful review of the prior offer, given that the buyer did not meet the required timelines for delivering earnest money, the district decided to allow the offer to lapse in accordance with the terms of sale agreement. Title company has released the transaction. The property is once again. There were some questions around why did this happen, and it had to do with them not meeting that timeline in the contract. At this time, we have three parties. Two of them have walked the building that are now back interested again. We haven't received any new offers, but we do have folks who are walking the building, and we're actively out looking to make a sale again. So I just wanted to kind of update everyone on that.
Thank you. James, anything going on with? No. This is your moment, James.
No, I really, again, appreciate us, the artist that created, what was her name again? Arlette with these.
Oh, yes, the kitchen, yes.
Shirts, that's going on, ready this Tuesday. These amazing shirts, you know, child abuse, prevention is obviously near and dear to most of us and myself and so just really appreciative of that. Gonna be going to my other job, going to the summit tomorrow on child abuse prevention and human trafficking prevention. So, maybe one of the days I'll wear the shirt there.
I would like to see a picture of you there.
The other comment, you know, just to kind of follow up what we were talking about, Andy, I know I got all fired up on my soapbox, but I agree. I wish we could do exactly what you're suggesting and come up with a plan, but I think the cold reality is that I think, like I was saying, the public needs to understand is, you know, we're still trying to claw back furlough days to get back to a minimum number of educational hours, or not educational hours, but days for our students. And, you know, I've seen comments on social media and in public areas about, you know, it's this fault or this fault or that. And I really think it, you know, what we talked about tonight kind of goes back to what the gentleman said last meeting, that it really, really is that the state is shifting the burden onto our community. And this is just going to be really, frankly, if our community is going to step up and meet that challenge, because, you know, they can throw on blame all we want and have these lofty goals, but I think without shouldering this, then we are staring down the barrel of potentially a failure of the public education in our community. And not only is that disastrous for our kids, but for our community, and it will affect, you know, I hear I've seen comments, people saying, well, I don't have kids, and, you know, it will, you know, if you're listening, that will affect you. Your property values will go down, our community will hurt. Good education makes a good community, great education, and we're there, and I just don't want to see that fail. So that's what I've said. I just think that really, it's just, we are really at a crossroads here if our community is going to step up for not just our kids, but for the community itself, or are they gonna, you know, cut their nose off to spite their face? I think that's really where we're at. That's all I have.
Thank you. I think, you know, a lot of us are feeling the same sentiments, and I will not apologize for all of us saying the same thing over and over, because I think it needs to be said as many ways and as many times as possible. Thank you, Andy, for having us here tonight, and thank you for highlighting the really awesome programs that you have going on here. Middle school is very near and dear to my heart, so I am just always thrilled to hear about the good work that is happening with our middle-aged students. And thank you for highlighting too the way that these budget cuts are going to be affecting the students and your staff here. Very sincerely hope that we are able to pass this levy and sharing this going, some of those STEM opportunities going, and keep that growth going for our students, because I think it is so important. Let's see, voters pamphlets are out. Hopefully you're receiving those in your homes. Please take a look at that information. Please learn about this information. There's so much info out there that community members can access. I speak for my fellow board members here. We are all available to communicate with anybody in our community who has questions. Please reach out. We love to talk, so please come talk to us. I will be in downtown Newberg Friday night, walking around. It is first Friday. I would love to talk to as many community members as possible. So if you see me, please come talk to me about the levy. You know, I echo so much of what James has said, but I do think that it is so important to continue to point out that the state is underfunding our students, that other communities in Oregon have said yes to bridging that gap, and that our students are no less deserving than the students who live in Sherwood or the students who live in Beaverton, and that our students, our children, need us to cover that gap for them, to support our district. And like has been pointed out by James, by Mr. Severide last week, by so many community members, strong schools equal strong communities. Strong schools support our local economy, support our property values, support all the things that I think that so many people, the goals that people have for this valley, for Newberg. I don't I don't see a negative, and I really struggle with some of the no arguments here, because to me, the only option is supporting our students and supporting the future. That's it.
Well, that was well said. Of course, I'm working on the levy as well and want everybody to vote in favor of our kids and educating our kids. And as I said at a meeting in Dundee, somebody's gonna need to change my diaper someday. I need a qualified person to be able to do that. I need somebody who's been educated and, you know, this is my ask. Please send me somebody that, has at least a high school, degree. On another note, Cinderella, I'm so excited to go see Cinderella at the high school. And the dates are April 30th, May 1st, and May 2nd. And just encourage people to go. This is a great reminder of why we're all here and the work that we're doing with and on behalf of kids in our communities, to go see them being creative and having a wonderful time. And Andy, I love being back in school. Both my girls went to CV, but your comment about losing the innovation lab is a huge statement unto itself. Is that innovation, we need innovation. We need our kids to be curious. We need our kids to be inspired and why they want to come to school. And, you know, the 3 students that you highlighted are really great. And that's exactly what we need people to understand, is that our kids are deserving of a quality education. So thank you for hosting us and have a wonderful, safe trip.
Yeah, thank you for hosting us. Love to hear about what's going on. Love the videos of the kids. It's really good to see that. I'm trying to think of ways that don't lose Innovation Lab. It might fall from the budget, but maybe there's resources that could come in and do clubs and stuff that I know it's a big thing. What else? I guess on the whole levy thing, you know, I'm definitely supportive of it. I do hope our school boundary folks, you know, make the right decision. And not the committee, I'm talking about the people that are gonna have this on their ballot to vote on. I guess one point of clarification, this is assessed tax value, right? Not market value? Correct. Okay, so people need to understand that. I've seen lots of comments. Give me this, give me that. First of all, we also never says me $30 flat. Average cost of the home be $30 a month. So people are freaking out. It's not $30, it's $400. So I'm like, well, yeah, that's whatever. But just get your facts straight. Come to us. Don't read the other people's monstrous voices out there that think they're right. I was looking to see if we can, at least from the Yamhill side, it looks like their website's down where you can look at your assessed value. But if you have your tax statement from last year, you'll be able to see where that's at and then calculate what your payments will be. But even for the house and extra $500 or so or whatever, I'll take that back when I turn around and sell it, and it's not gonna be a problem. So I know people aren't maybe budgets and everything, but if we start failing as a school district here and as James said, you know, it will impact our sale rates and resale values of our houses and stuff, so. Just vote for it. We need it. We need this. The community has supported us in so many ways, inside and outside of the school. So many things to support. I think we can all support this. And it's not forever, only for 5 years. If I'm still on the board, I'll fight like hell to say it's only 5 years. We will not be asking for this again. This is to right size and get us back on the ship in the right direction, and we will stay there. We will not be asking for this again as long as I'm on the school board again. So,
Got a campaign plan. I hear a campaign.
sure, I mean, whatever, so. I guess on the better side of the news, at least, I guess. Well, before last night's game, we get sure we were fourth in state in baseball, so we're doing pretty good. Yeah, we swept Matt all 3 games, swept Glencoe. We're doing pretty dang good for baseball, so. I don't know about the other sports, unfortunately, I just follow my nephew right now, so. That's it.
Thank you for having us here. I have a lot of great memories. I went to Mountain View, but, when I was early high school, late middle school, we did all of our musicals in the gymnasium here. So I ran around here quite a bit. That's also to say that at that point, community came together and did a bond that created a beautiful auditorium space that we all utilize now, with Cinderella coming up. And I hope that, again, we can find ways to make sure that we're investing in our students in this really difficult time that we've laid out. Situations where the state isn't giving us information that we need to be able to build our budget in a reasonable way. As we all did, I got my voter pamphlet in the mail, and I was interested in what some of the arguments against this levy would be. And the first one I saw just felt so disingenuous that I feel like I have to say things to it. Talks a lot about our enrollment drops since 2019. It talks a lot about how we were overspending on teachers during those years, 19 to 23. It talks about how we as a current board have just, what does it say? Are years into fixing the mess, but we still blame the old administration for the deficits. I want to say I haven't done that I'm aware of once, and now I'm going to, because it is crazy that you're going to put this out there for people to see when you're saying that our overspending is continuing, that our special education programs are millions over budgets, when that's all the things that happened 3 years ago when we got into this. You should go talk to elementary school parents and see how many of them have a classroom that's 21 to 1 at this point. 15 to 1 across the district. As far as I'm aware, those aren't the real numbers. I think that those were the numbers a few years ago when we had too many teachers, when we didn't have a system that was telling us that we had vacancies and they were just filling positions that didn't need to be filled. It's crazy to say that this doesn't make sense right now for our community, for our children, and not just as a political talking point. I am happy to have conversations. I'm happy to say that at that time, we didn't ask all the right questions of the previous financial director, of the previous superintendent. I know that I could have done better. I could have been more on top of things, but it is crazy to say that we are going to not fund a whole generation of students here because you want to make this a political argument that's based on no facts. If you're looking at the arguments, go away from it. Go talk to somebody, go talk to Nate, who can give you information that's real. They can give you where we're struggling. We have these numbers. We just talked about them tonight. Some of these areas where, yeah, we had to push in some money because we have to do things for students right now. And sometimes that leads to bad things. But we lost that $10 million, not because we haven't been trying, not because we're bloated with staff and our spending habits are terrible. Talking about a bond that isn't even to do with this. It's just, there's so many disingenuous arguments against this that I'm so mad. I try to stay level-headed in here, but right now I'm furious that somebody would have the gall to do that. So I hope you vote yes. I hope you talk to people. I hope you talk to parents. I hope that you talk to teachers. I hope that you talk to, if you don't trust us, maybe we're too political as school board members, sure. Talk to people who aren't political, who have a say in this, who have children, who have jobs. Just grow up and understand that things are bad right now in a lot of ways, and we're all working our butts off. People who actually are working their butts off are doing their best, and to not support our students is just mind-numbing. Thank you.
I'm gonna give that a minute.
Approved.
I'll keep this short because I asked a lot of questions earlier. Andy, thank you. And not just because your name is Andy. I really appreciate, in particular, I was drawn to the fact that two of the students that you interviewed noted that the best part of CV are the staff. And I'm gonna use that to talk about the levy, because that is part of what is at stake. Right before I came here tonight, I was over at the high school with track meet. And I was talking with a longtime friend of mine whose wife is a retired special ed teacher from another district. And we were talking about retired life, and it was then that we noticed that the Unified 100 was starting. And I mean, the place was not louder than that moment. And I could hear people from across the field cheering on students that had an opportunity to compete because there were caring adults there making that possible for them. There was a program that allowed them to participate. And the two of us looked at each other and said, this is why public education is so great. That every student has a place to try something, to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And that the relationships that are driving so much of this work, I want our community to know that that is precisely what is at stake here. You've seen the presentation on what is at stake if the levy does not pass. If you aren't clear on that, I'll echo my fellow board members and talk to people who can help you get an accurate sense of what is happening here. Join us in voting yes, because our kids, my kids, Celeste's kids, Saul's kids, Aubrey's kids, right? James's kids, you have a kindergartner next year. Deb's kids have gone through ewberg school.
Grandkids coming through.
Right? Help Deb find a diaper changer.
Yes, yes.
We are invested in this community, and we know the value that education brings to all of us, even if you don't have kids currently enrolled in ewberg Dundee schools. I'm gonna stop there.
Bring it home, Celeste.
Okay, well, I'll start with just thanks to Andy. I am excited to hear about, intentions to improve writing skills. Really excited about IEP and 504 curriculums, and what stood out to me was intentionality with drawing the pathways down to middle school for elective planning. That makes electives a little more meaningful. And I thought all of those were standout ideas. I made comments about the levy last meeting, walking around the community, doing some knocking on doors and canvassing. I am concerned that a fair number of the doors weren't, this was before the voter pamphlet came out, just didn't have awareness of what it was. And so I say this publicly because I think the people who are listening to the board meeting are maybe invested in some way, that I think we all have to be sharing information much more broadly, and in hopes that folks at least are not surprised when they see it on the ballot. They know what it's about, and that we garner the support we need to get the levy passed.
Okay. So we have some future board meetings. The next one is May 12th at the district office. May 26th, we get to go out to Joanne Austin. And then we have budget committee meetings coming up. We're going to end the board meeting the meeting is gonna adjourn into executive session. We will come back and close out the meeting. But at this time, the board's gonna meet in an executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660 to review and evaluate the employment-related performance of the superintendent. Representatives of news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. We will hold our executive session in an office provided to us by Andy. Meeting and executive session. Oh, this executive session is not open to the public. Sorry, I went right to the bottom one. Never mind, to the media who's not here.
Sure.
And designated staffing at. Okay, just read it. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. We're going into executive session, folks. Nate, can you bring us back? Okay, we are coming back to our regular board meeting from our executive session meeting, only to adjourn our meeting and say good night, and thank you very much.
Bye.
Sure with us?
Yeah, I was gonna say, we